Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Think of me as your teacher for the next few minutes as we dive into one of the most incredible, totally invisible foundations of our modern world. I mean, we use electric appliances literally every single day, right? Electric motors, generators, induction stoves, even just ringing a doorbell. But have you ever actually stopped to ask, how do they work? Is there some hidden link between the electricity flowing through your walls and that magnet holding a grocery list to your fridge? Well, today we are going to completely demystify the fascinating connection between electricity and magnetism.
So here is our roadmap for today's lesson. We're going to start with the accidental connection that kicked this whole thing off. Then we'll map the invisible field. Third, we're turning electricity into motion. Fourth, we're flipping that to create electricity from motion. And finally, we'll look at electromagnetism in your daily life. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The accidental connection. To lay down our very first building block, we actually need to travel back in time to the 19th century.
Okay, so meet Hans Christian Oersted. He was one of the top scientists of his day and a real pioneer in what would eventually become electromagnetism. Now, Oersted absolutely loved to teach, and he was really famous for giving these big, popular public lectures. And during one of these routine lectures back in April of 1820, he did a demonstration that quite literally changed the course of human history. See, before that fateful day in 1820, the scientific community completely believed that electricity and magnetism were just totally different, entirely unconnected things. But Oersted built this super simple circuit with a battery and a piece of wire, and he just happened to place a magnetic compass underneath it. When he closed the switch and let the electric current flow, the compass needle deflected. It moved. Without any physical contact whatsoever, that current-carrying wire applied a force directly onto the magnetic needle. So here's the massive takeaway. Oersted accidentally proved that electricity and magnetism are intimately connected. A flowing current actually produces its own magnetic field.
Moving right along to Section 2. Mapping the invisible field. We know there's a magnetic field being generated now, but how do we wrap our heads around something we can't even see?
Well, scientists have a pretty clever way of visualizing the invisible. By taking a compass and moving it around a magnet, we can actually trace out what we call magnetic field lines. And these lines give us two absolutely vital pieces of information: strength and direction. The arrows point in the exact direction the north pole of a compass would face. And pay attention to the spacing between the lines. Right where those lines are super crowded together, like near the ends or poles of a magnet, that field is incredibly strong. Where they spread apart, it's a lot weaker. It is this amazing three-dimensional force field wrapping entirely around its source.
Now, obviously, scientists need a way to measure all this mathematically, but we'll keep it really basic for our purposes today. Just imagine drawing a flat square in the empty air near a magnet. Magnetic flux is simply the total number of those invisible field lines passing right through your square. It's essentially just a head count of the lines. Magnetic flux density, which is represented by the letter B, is just how tightly packed those lines are within a specific unit of area that is perfectly perpendicular to the field itself. Think of it like this. Flux is the total amount of traffic on a multi-lane highway, and density is how insanely packed the cars are in one specific lane.
All right, Section 3, turning electricity into motion. We have our magnetic fields, and we know electric currents create them. The big question for us now is, how do we use this knowledge to actually make stuff move?
Let's do a quick interactive moment to see how this builds. Wherever you are sitting right now, stretch out your left hand. Point your forefinger straight ahead, point your middle finger out to the right, and stick your thumbs straight up in the air. Make sure they're all perfectly perpendicular to one another. You just recreated Fleming's left-hand rule. If your forefinger represents the direction of the magnetic field and your middle finger represents the direction of the electric current flowing through a wire, your thumb shows you the exact direction of the physical force that will push that wire. Boom, we've just turned electricity into a physical push.
But how do we actually make that push useful? Think about opening a stubborn bottle cap. You don't just push it from one side, right? Your fingers have to apply two equal forces in opposite directions to make it twist. So if we take a rectangular coil of wire and run a current through it while it's sitting inside a magnetic field, Fleming's left-hand rule tells us one side of that coil is going to get pushed up and the other side is going to get pushed down. Those equal and opposite forces cause the coil to continuously rotate. And just like that class, you've learned exactly how an electric motor works.
Okay, Section 4, creating electricity from motion. What if we completely flip the script? If putting electricity into a magnetic field creates physical motion, what happens if we start with the motion instead?
This right here is a crucial aha moment. An electric motor converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. It's what makes a fan blade spin. But a generator uses a principle called electromagnetic induction, which does the exact opposite. It takes mechanical energy and converts it into electrical energy. If you take a coil of wire that has absolutely zero current running through it and you manually rotate it inside a magnetic field, that physical movement actually forces a current to start flowing through the wire.
This profound discovery comes to us via Faraday's law of induction. The core rule here is vital. The current is equal to the rate of change of magnetic flux. You can't just set a magnet perfectly still next to a wire and expect free power. Those magnetic field lines, that flux traffic we counted earlier, must be actively changing across the wire. Whether it's the magnet that's moving or the wire that's moving, it is the constant, active change in the magnetic field that reliably induces the electricity.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Electromagnetism in Daily Life. We've covered a lot of invisible math and physics today. So why do you actually need to know this? Let's connect all of this to your everyday routine.
Electromagnetic induction is everywhere around you. When you swipe a classic ATM card, the changing magnetic field of that black strip induces a quick current in the scanner so it can read your data. Ever walk through an airport security scanner? You're walking through a large upright coil. If the keys or iron in your pocket change the magnetic flux of the scanner's field, that induced current triggers the alarm. Or think about an induction stove. It runs an alternating current through a hidden coil, creating a rapidly changing magnetic field. You set a metal pan on top, and that varying field induces a current directly inside the metal of the pan itself. That electrical resistance creates the heat. You're cooking with magnets, no fire required.
Let's end today's lesson with a truly dramatic experiment, magnetic levitation. Imagine a solid metal ring just sitting over an iron cylinder that's tightly wrapped in copper wire. If we pump alternating current, or AC, into that wire, the metal ring literally jumps up into the air and levitates. Why on earth does it do that? Because AC power constantly changes its direction back and forth, meaning the magnetic poles of the coil are constantly flipping. This rapidly changing flux induces a strong current right there in the metal ring. That induced current turns the ring into a magnet of its very own, which pushes back against the coil's magnetic field, perfectly fighting the force of gravity. It's like magic, but it's just physics.
And that brings us to your final thought experiment for the day. Based on Newton's second law, forces have to perfectly balance for that ring to just float there in midair. But could this ring be levitated if we used direct current, DC power, instead of AC? Remember what Faraday's law just taught us about what is strictly required to induce a current. A steady DC current creates a steady, completely unchanging magnetic field. So, does an unchanging field create induction? I am going to leave you to ponder that little puzzle. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on the invisible forces powering our world. Keep observing, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next one.